Reese, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing good. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, it's so good to meet you.
yeah, you too. You too. Thanks.
Okay. So I have this right here, and I love it. I love it. I have sent this to friends and just told them, hey, you really need to read this. Um, so I will let you introduce yourself, and I will have this book over here. Nope, over here on the screen during the video so everybody can see that. But yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start when people are like, "Tell me about yourself." I don't know what
I
to say
understand.
because it's not in the video, maybe. So maybe I should chill out.
So where do you live? How about that? We can start
I
there.
live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you having read the book know that that's where it takes place. So Um, yes, so Joel lives in Rio Rancho, which is where I lived at the time I wrote it. And that's like a suburb of Albuquerque, although it's like its own city now. I live here with my partner and two kids, and I am busy all the time. Yeah, like three
Yeah.
big dogs that we take care of. Actually work in the DEI department of the University of New Mexico full
Oh, cool.
time. And what else? I sing
And
in the
just
New
for
Mexico Gay Men's
just
Choir. So
oh, nice. Gay men's choir. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. And I got married 9 days ago.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. So if you're asking what I've been writing recently, the most recent thing was the vows for that wedding. So that's
What
pretty exciting. I'm actually still like technically kind of on my honeymoon. I'll go back to work on Tuesday.
oh my
Um,
goodness. Well, I'm so sorry to interrupt your honeymoon,
Not at
but
all. Actually, no, my partner had to go back to work already, so
oh.
you're not interrupting anything. I just haven't been back to work yet. So that's been really exciting, and as you can imagine, again, very, very busy. That's why I'm like, I apologize for my busy schedule, but we can always make time for a little something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you did. I've been really I've had this author talk channel for a while, but I get in these times of I just don't use it a lot. I don't talk to people, and I was like, I've got to get back and
Hmm.
get on there more and talk to more authors, and I started thinking like I went down to my bookshelf and I was like, oh, my heart is human. I need to talk to Reese. I
Oh
said
yeah,
that's
so you're looking for like more authors to talk to.
I do I like to so I like to read the book first, so I know like who I'm talking to, a little bit at least through their book. And I had told William, hey, if you have any authors on the project that want to interview, please let them know, And I think that was actually this year that I told him that. So 2 years ago, I was just kind of out there maybe, but I didn't actually pursue, hey, tell them, And so when your book came out, it was a great read, but it just didn't come to mind at that time. Oh, why don't you see if you can do an interview, And so, yeah, so I was really excited whenever I started trying to get back into it. I was like, who do I need to talk to? And I was like, I know who I need to talk to.
Yeah, yeah. Made it happen very quickly.
Yeah, we really did. It was like within a day, I think. Like, what about tomorrow? Okay.
Right, right.
I,
And like I said, I have a couple days at home, so it actually worked out.
that's so perfect. I love how the universe just pulls it together sometimes and it's like, you shall talk. But yeah, so
Really?
I'm gonna read a little bit of the back of the book just to get us on a track here. Um, So we talked about Joel. So a single father fights to retain control as he shares his body and mind with an evolving AI. It's been 9 years since the government banned all technology. That alone is like, wait, what? So when Joel Lodewick, am I saying it right?
Ottawick. Yeah.
Lodewick. Okay. When Joel Lodewick, a young transgender father struggling to support his 5-year-old daughter, has an old bionic upload itself into his head, he is faced with a decision. Go to the cops and risk prosecution or use the robot skills to turn his life around. So, oh my gosh, what a unique perspective and just such a creative segue. I don't know, a segue into what would life be like, first of all, after they've banned technology for years, and what happens if you happen upon technology that's banned, but it's helping you. Now, what do you do?
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be like a parallel for what we're facing today, right? With all the AI stuff. It's like, well, it's actually bad for humanity probably, but it does make life easier and we're all using it. So
It comes across almost every interview I do now. We talk about AI just a little bit. And I'm of the mindset of it's kind of like the washing machine. You know, people probably used to think that was evil. But then
yeah,
if you use that, you know, without scrubbing for 3 hours, you're instead putting it in and spending time with your kids or cooking dinner, then, you know, use it wisely and it can serve you well, but don't let it take over, you know.
every piece of technology has been that way. So it's hard. Like one of the big questions is this just another piece of technology that's we're getting used to, or is there something more to it? Um,
Right. So tell us a little about how you got started with this book. Like, were you thinking about AI in the world, or do you know, like, what gave you the ideas?
Okay, this is really funny. Um, but I actually originally I wanted to write a retelling of The Fox and the Hound because I love
Oh,
that story. And I was like, it would be really fun if these two people were friends and then they became enemies and one was hunting the other. And that's actually where the idea came from. And that's, Joel and Yori's
oh my
relationship,
gosh.
right?
Yeah.
But I found it very difficult to put together a scenario where that would happen, where you'd be
Mm,
friends first and then end up. And one of my ideas was actually like kind of like a World War II thing where two people ended up. And I kind of have worked with that a little, but I don't remember how I thought of this robot thing exactly, but I did, and then it really started taking off because I was like, if we put the people could be friends, but then there's like this insidious like second part to this person. So right, so it's like the people half of Joel's friends, but the other half was kind of against the human that he wanted to be with. So I it kind of grew into this. And it was built from that relationship idea. But then, and I'm a sucker for stories where you have a voice in the head that's
Yeah.
like not getting along with you. Like Wesley Chu has a whole series with that concept kind of. And it's just, I think it's a really fun concept. So that started to be like what the story was about too, was the relationship between Joel and Acubens, and then there's the relationship between Joel and Yori, and that alone was enough to like write a whole novel with. Um,
Yeah.
and I just really had fun with it, and I did kind of try to make it a rewriting, but it just kind of went its own way eventually, and nobody can even like identify that unless I point it out to them. But that is
Right.
how it.
Like this is actually Fox and the Hound fan fiction right here. Is that
Kind of, yeah. I love stuff like that. And I'm like a sucker for spy stories. Like you probably the book I came out with before this is spy thriller. If you
okay? I
like
haven't
like
read that one. What is that one?
Charted Loyalties is a like I don't know what's going on with the camera,
Oh,
but
it's hard. If you blur the background, it won't show anything but your face, so you kind of have to make it.
okay. So that is a like a spy thriller set in a World War II inspired fantasy world. Um,
Okay.
so this kind of was like a spy thing in a way because Joel has like this second like being inside him that's like spying and like affecting his own life. So I guess that like I'm a sucker for spy stuff and I'm a sucker for secret stuff. So this
Yeah.
tied into the kind of stuff that I just take and run with and go like all these crazy directions that just end up being so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I remember at one point Joel's like can't he lost his job. Yeah, I know the whole drama with not having a job, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden he can do all this math in his head. So does he just use that, you know, or is that cheating? You know, like where do you go? He has a child to support. You know, there's so many. You touch on so many of those very emotional and moral
Moral
dilemma
gray
kind of
areas, yeah.
situations.
Those are the funnest because you
Yeah,
don't want your answers to be easy. for either the characters or the readers.
Right. Exactly. I'm looking back at the book because I'm like glancing over some things. Um, I like that, first of all, just the idea that the government has banned all technology. Like that's something I think we all think about like as what happens if technology's gone? You know, that's a big thing. But then to consider that the government's actually banned it all, well, now I need to know why. Like, what happened? You know, where's the prequel? What happened before and how did it get here? And, but you get that with the conversations between people. You kind of hear little bits of things, you know, just enough to know, okay, that makes sense why, you know, things got banned and everything. And this robot is basically like a fugitive not realizing it himself, but you know, he's not
Hey.
supposed to exist.
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of it's almost like a post-apocalyptic sort of like world in that respect, which again is something else I'm a sucker for. I just have to say it just checked a lot of boxes for me when I wrote this, which is um so it does have sort of a post-apocalyptic feel because like it's a while in the past. It's 9 years now. So people but people like Joel's boss, the one that he lost the job at the beginning, still remembers what it was like. And it's like, damn, I wish I still had robots around. And thinks Joel's a
Yeah.
shitty worker because he's comparing him to robots still. So it made it very easy to kind of like put all the background about the world in without info dumping or anything like that.
Mhm. I love when authors like you are able to take a big concept like that and just toss it in conversations along the way to where I don't need a prequel to go back to see everything that happened. I get enough of it, you know, through the just the storyline and because it's putting that emotion into it and like the guy was frustrated because he didn't work as good as the robots, you know, like that kind of thing. You're like, okay, so I can draw a lot of conclusions from that about how the world was before, you know. But
Absolutely. Yeah, because otherwise you're just kind of seeing it factually. But I think what's really important to see is how it's affected the people that are on the ground now. And like Joel
mm,
doesn't, he was very young when it all happened, so he doesn't really like remember it outside of like some memories of like playing some games in the car or something. So to him, it's just like, God, get over it already, old people. Because I think
right.
one thing that's just positive among all generations is every generation thinks the one after them is doing worse and has it easier.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. So I had
That's
to
so
figure
funny.
out how that would play out with this.
Mm-hmm. Um, and one thing that I'm trying to think of the him struggling with gender dysphoria during this book, or at least talking about how he struggled with it before. I love how you tie that in, if I'm remembering correctly, toward the end when
Spoilers have been moved to the end of this episode. Keep watching safely for now and enjoy the juicy details later.
I I love that you also included the little guitar with the trans flag like tossed in there. You know, that's so cute. I love how you did that. And I
Yeah, lots of little things went into
yeah,
this.
yeah, all the little details and everything. I mean, the book cover is really cool on its own. And
My favorite cover I've ever had.
yeah, that's awesome. How did you get the cover?
Well, I mean, it was through Bell, but he gave me because I published with Shrouded Loyalties came out with Angry Robot, and they're bigger. They did not get as much sand my cover. So with
Oh,
Bell,
okay.
he really asked for. There was just a whole lot of feedback involved, and I got to really talk about what I wanted, and he made it
Yeah.
happen. And I found a lot of the little symbols on here that you're talking about. I found those. I don't even remember now. It was a while ago, but I found them somewhere and I suggested them and he got them on there for me. And
Oh, that's awesome. So okay, so Space Wizard Science Fan. Yeah, it's on the back. Space
yeah.
Wizard. Ta-da, right there. Yes. I forgot that he worked with you on the covers as well. But yeah, I tell me about
Yeah.
that. So working with Bill and in just Space Wizard Science Museum, how did you find them, or did they find you, or how did that work?
Well, we actually met on one of the writing excuses cruises.
Mm.
I started out self-published, and then I actually met Bill before he opened this publishing company. He was like talking about it. But we became friends and we started beta reading for each other. And we both really liked each other's work, so it was a very good friendship. And we both like helped each other immensely, I believe, with growing our writing careers. And then my second book came out with a hybrid publisher, who's now Fiction Vortex was their name. They're out of business now, I believe. And then I think that maybe that was around the time he was opening the publishing company. And then I had a book with Angry Robot, which was through their open door policy or open door contest. I got that one through there. And then I was had My Heart is Human. I started shopping that. And I was just like having some trouble with the bigger publishers in part because it was a transgender novel and I would get people saying, "Oh, we already have a transgender novel." I think I remember Belle actually mentioning that to you 2 years ago.
Wow. Like,
So
Bill, we already have a human novel. Like, what? Anyway, go ahead.
I just thought that Bill was a better fit for it, to be honest, at
Yeah.
that time. And I really liked him. Like you said, I'd been reading his books that he'd been publishing and they were very good quality and they were good stories. So I approached him and I said, if you're interested in this novel, I'd love to publish it with you because I just like didn't have the best experiences with larger publishers. As I said, I didn't get much say on my cover. I didn't
Mm.
um get a whole lot of like attention on the novel and I just thought a small queer publisher would be a better fit for me in my writing. And
Yeah.
I was really had a great experience with Bill and Heather. He is so good at editing. Like he just like I can't even explain to you. He just like reads into stuff and he tells you what he loves and he tells you what he thinks needs reworking and why. And every time he's worked with my stuff, and even before when we were just beta reading it, it always like just levels up, it becomes so much better. So
Oh,
it was absolutely in the right hands with him. It was not this good when he got it. I could tell you that right now. He like, especially like the climax scene and the journey through Acuben's understanding and making the decisions it does at the end. I can credit Bill with bringing it to that level. Absolutely.
yeah. Huh.
Yeah, nothing but great things to say about him and his publishing company.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
I know I've interviewed a few people. I had Allie Mead on Author Talk. She did Isaac is the name of her book, and it was a woman kind of falls in love with an AI robot and is like, wait, how does this work? Tries to understand the relationship there and how that works. And then she has, and then I interviewed recently Alexander Verbeek van den Toren, and
I met him on the cruise too.
do what?
I met him on the Writing Excuses cruise too.
I was wondering that because I was gonna say he said he met Bill on one of those cruises as well.
Yeah, yes. We're kind of our early group of people. Like we're on the early ones, so it's
Oh,
kind of cool.
nice. That's awesome.
The
Yeah,
OG.
he was saying that's where he met him and everything, and that's awesome. That's but yeah, just reading those two and yours, and then Peace in the Sky. I read that one as well. I can't remember the author right now, but I loved that one as well, and I might need to find that author and see if I can talk to them too. But um, just I all of this to say I agree with you. If he's editing all of these, I can
Yeah.
absolutely see the quality. Yeah.
But there's a reason he's been so successful because he's
Mm.
very smart and very smart and it's great. It's great that he's decided to do this.
Bill, we're fans. I'm just gonna
We're
say.
fans.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Well, um, so Reese, so this is your fourth book from what you
Yes.
were saying earlier? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So I know you said the last one was a spy kind of book and spy inspired. And then
It's a
before
diesel.
that,
I don't know if you'd call that diesel punk. It was like World War II inspired fantasy. I describe it as Men in the High Castle meets Stranger Things. There are monsters.
okay, I'm glad you have a description. I always find myself, people say, "What's your book about?" And I'm like, just you should read it, and then you can tell me, So I'm glad you have
That
an
one's
idea of
really
it.
fun. And I wrote that before I transitioned, but when I was curious. So the spy character is like a woman disguised as a man, and that was like me exploring that a lot. Um
Yeah.
it's also like there are three like points of view in that. There's a captain who works on the submarine. There is her little brother who's back home and being seduced by an enemy soldier. And there's the spy who's spying
Okay.
on her. So you've got like
Ooh,
these three points of view that are all kind of like against each other. It's so much fun. I love writing stuff like that.
sounds cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I definitely need to read that one. I'm interested now. Yeah. I love different perspectives. I actually read a book one time that had a mute character in it. When he was a little boy, it was one of those dystopian kind of worlds, and he was put in basically had to work in the caves, like because he was deemed too aggressive. So
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
he had some bad experience there, and he was mute. And so all throughout the series, you're hearing his sister's perspective, and then all of a sudden, later into the book, after they've like rescued him, he's been on the kind of journey with them. He gets a chapter.
Ah.
You've never heard him talk because he's mute, but you hear all of his thoughts, in this chapter. And I was like, that was so brilliant, to just all of a sudden you've been wondering what he's thinking, and you get a whole chapter of just his thoughts. It was the only chapter. It didn't go back to him, but that was like it was just a gem.
Probably twisted everything on its head too. That sounds
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. You're
I
like,
do love
oh, okay. Oh, it's so neat. But yeah, I just can't tell you how much this book touched me. And I have a friend in Arizona, actually, not too far from you. She's transgender as well, and she's had a lot of just, you know, struggles, and I ended up staying at her place for like 2 weeks while I was on this trip, and um we both at that point were just going through just a lot emotionally, and we ended up just playing card games and watching movies and just living, just music, just generally just going out to karaoke, just trying to just survive for a little while, in that shared kind of dark place. And it was so touching to me. And all that to say, she's one of the ones that I said, you need to read this book. um, but yeah, I'll have to check in on her and be like, hey, did you read it yet? But but yeah, that was I went through growing up again. I didn't even know, LGBTQ was, I didn't know those letters. And
I would say I
as,
was the same. Yeah.
what'd you say?
I was the same way.
Really?
And until I was like on Twitter. I actually have to credit Twitter for helping me out because I just saw people on there like talk about stuff and I started exploring on my own and it led to, figuring out what's been going on with me my whole life. So yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing. So how old were you? Do you know?
How old was I? 35?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, when you started looking. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like for me, I think it was one of those, oh wait, all those it was just being in a group of people and hearing different people's experience. That's when I was like, wait a minute, that makes so much sense now. I said I didn't just think my teachers were cool. I had a crush on them. That makes more sense now.
Right. Yeah. You don't think to like question the things that you don't know that can be questioned or,
Yes,
you don't know what you don't know.
that is quotable. Yes.
And yeah,
You don't question the things
you
that
don't
you
think,
don't think can be questioned.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, quotable. I like it.
yeah. never questioning like anything. So that's why they're perhaps like frustrated with those of us who are willing to question and actually change.
That's very true. I honestly, if I wasn't gay, I don't know that I ever would have broadened my mind. Uh, but once I realized that, it was like all of a sudden I had to broaden my mind for that. But it
Yeah,
also led to, yeah, more openness for other things and meeting transgender people and understanding that being transgender is not the same as being gay. This is two different people groups, and
it
just
is.
understanding stories, like learning stories. And like I have a cousin who's transgender and my family struggles with that and understanding. And one of them told me one time, I just don't get it. I'm like, you're not gonna get it because that's not your experience. You're not gonna get it, and that's okay. We have to be willing to climb over that wall of I don't get it and keep moving forward and have the conversations and you know what's more important to you, grammar or how your
Yeah.
child or your cousin or whatever feels about how you talk to them and how you refer to them. So
It's
yeah.
what like Joel says to his parents at the end. I know you don't get it, but can't you just be happy that I'm happy? Like, isn't that the important part here?
Yep. Exactly. I love that. Yeah, your book is such an experience and I I just want to reread it. I also don't want to spoil it because it's so good. Read this book. It's so like it's so good. But um yeah. What else
Yeah.
is on your mind today?
Um, so you're asking about my other books, or I know we got distracted
Yeah,
talking about.
because yeah, I know I go off on lots of tangents because I get excited. But yeah, so we have going backwards in time, we have My Heart is Human.
Backwards
Uh
and Shrouded Loyalties. So the one before that was through this hybrid publisher, and that one is called Holding the Ashes. And when I,
hmm,
I want to call that out as one that has been people's favorite until My Heart is Human came out because it's really good. It's I'm always like, my books are good. Well, I wrote them, so of course.
you are welcome to say
I,
that. Yeah.
I really like kind of atypical like ways of telling stories. So Holding the Ashes is written in 10 episodes, and it's a
Oh,
post-apocalyptic world that has death gods ruling it, and it's like 200 years after a nuclear apocalypse. I can't take credit for coming up with the world because I actually wrote it based on somebody else's world. But
okay.
I got to write my entire story taking place in that world because it was like a project that I was asked to take part of. So that was really cool. So there's actually one other novel out there that takes place in the same world. But my story is completely like a standalone. You can read it without knowing anything else about that world. Death Gods Rule the World. And it's a story about grief because the main character, Svana, loses like the love of her life when he's shot at the beginning, and she doesn't want the Death God to get his soul. So she tries to
Oh,
keep it from the Death God. And it's written in 10
huh.
episodes. I would describe it as a horror. It also has monsters. These ones are invisible.
Hmm,
Um,
interesting.
anyway, it's another like pretty powerful story about grief and not wanting to let go and move on.
Mhm.
Um, people, yeah, and everybody who kind of like read my library before this one came out, that was like their favorite one. And it's also got music in it. So I love music. This book,
Oh,
My Heart is Human, has lots of music. Holding the Ashes has like a rock star's journal that she found from before the apocalypse. So she like it becomes her Bible, and it ends up playing a big part too. So I
neat.
I love that book. I want to reread that book too.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And then my very first novel was self-published, and it's called The Deadliest Echo, and it's an alternate history in 1928 Soviet Russia,
Wow.
told in alternating chapters between. So the character gets captured by Russian soldiers, and just when things are going really bad, his doppelganger walks into the room.
Ah,
Rescues him. But in like a way that makes things worse.
interesting. Okay. Yeah. I love
So
the
now I'm
teasers. These
like,
are good teaser trailers.
thank you. Anyway, those are my that's my library. I also have like 5 short stories out there that are various
Okay.
available through my website.
So where can we find them? Yeah, your website. Where do we find your stuff?
ReeseHogan.com. Um, all my books are on Amazon, and most of my I have 2 short stories in published anthologies, one of which Bell published, and another one that was like a steampunk retelling. I did a Hansel and Gretel retelling in that one.
Cool.
I did a comedy. I did a complete comedy story, which was super fun.
Huh.
And what did that one come out on? Coup of Owls is the name of that one. N
Hmm.
not the story, but the magazine.
Oh, okay.
Really, really fun, non-binary dragon hunter in modern times who
Yeah,
takes
that's fun.
who takes themselves way too seriously. So yeah, and I had one on a podcast, a horror story about the dangers of falling asleep. So yeah.
That would make me not be able to sleep at night. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, yeah, I love stuff about it.
You have so many different angles and perspectives and worlds. That is just fascinating. I love that. I feel like the few times I've tried to write narrative, like I read a lot of poetry, and a few times I've tried to like dive into narrative, it's been very dark and it's very much in the real world. And I'm like, why is this what my brain does? Like I read sci-fi and fantasy and this is the kind of stuff and lit RPG, and but then when I want to write it, it's just like this
Dark.
kid in Ohio that had a bad family, like
But curiously enough, I tend to write really dark also, and that's where that comedy story came from. Because I went onto Twitter and I was like, why can't I write anything that's not dark? I just want to write something fun. And somebody was like, lean into the too darkness. That was their comment, like lean into it. So that's what I did, and that's why this character takes himself way too seriously and thinks treating everything like it's dark, but the whole world around them is not dark. So that's what made it so funny.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely want to check that out. Go ahead.
yeah, I like writing really dark things too.
You have you have like the sweetest, calmest voice, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna read this stuff and be like, I am terrified. I'm like about to be eaten or trampled or something. But but then you talk to the author, and it's like, what? I'm completely innocent over here. She's like, "Mhm."
It's
Yeah,
super
yeah.
fun.
It's so much fun. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope to see. Are you planning any sequels or audiobook versions or anything like that with some of these?
Well, the last 2 are on audiobook. Um, I'm not writing a sequel right now. No.
Yeah.
I do have
Yeah.
like another novel that I've been working on, but it's like one of those that needs a lot of work, so I don't know what's gonna happen with that one. But
Yeah.
I don't know, like maybe you can tell like by my library, but I tend to like kind of get bored of the same thing, and I really like to stretch my like imagination and also like my storytelling, like the ways I
Yeah.
tell stories, the ways the character things I like to explore. I'm really always kind of tend to like get bored in one place. So, I'm not sure that like I think a sequel could be fun. I do, but I tend to like get excited about something that's in another world and jump over to that one, you know.
Yeah.
And
No,
there's
I like
also
that. That whole
just on a pure,
mentality is cool.
yeah, on a purely marketable level, it's like sequels don't sell as well either. So it's like you're putting like the same effort you'd put into a novel into something that someone's probably not going to pick up because it's a sequel anyway. Um, so that's a thing. I know that in the sci-fi world, everyone has sequels and series. Um, I don't yet.
Yeah. I had an author tell me one time your third book sells your first book. Like if you're gonna do a sequel, you have to do a third. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Because
that makes I think a trilogy is a good amount. Like as a
like
reader,
beginning, middle, end
a
kind of.
trilogy is really like tackleable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to do one, like a single, and it's like as good as My Heart is Human, and then move on to something new, I'm totally about that life.
Well, you know what? The other thing I really like that I've seen some people do is that where you write a sequel, but it's also a standalone. So you could pick it up and
Yeah.
read it on its own. And if you want to read more, then you can go read the one before it, but you don't have to. I'd be more likely to do something like that, I think.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I could see you doing that just from what you've said.
Right, right. And you have to take it in a whole new direction. So
Mhm.
I don't
All right,
know.
so reesehogan.com is where I need to go. And I love I just I have the ADHD superpower, so I think you having different things going on is good for my brain because I'm like, oh, I want to go to 1928 Russia. Oh wait, no, now I want to be in post-apocalyptic, US Arizona. Like I could jump back and forth and have
Yeah, I think
unique
that's
stories.
I think if you know you like edgy sorts of like relationship type stuff, then you're always gonna find that with my stuff because I really just love like really messed up relationships and what I can do with them.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
I love how you tie that in, if I'm remembering correctly, toward the end when the robot like realizes, you know, wait a minute, this is how your mind is. And it's like it develops kind of a new level of intelligence once it realizes what that's all about and how that's affected his life.
I gave a talk on this book at a school a little bit ago, and somebody said, "How would the story have been different if Joel wasn't transgender?" And I said, "Well, it wouldn't have worked actually, because that understanding is what enables Acubans to wrap its head around what it's like to like it thinks of everything in terms of just like flipping a switch, like it's on or it's off. You were a girl,
Right.
now you're a boy." And Joel has to help it understand, no, that's actually not how it works. You're not erasing an entire past. This is all part of the journey. It all makes me part of who I am. You're not
Mhm.
just flipping a switch. And Acuben's needing to wrap its mental head around what that means, enables it to have a greater understanding of what it means to be human in general. Um,
Yes.
so I think that that would have been a difficult for maybe a cisgender person to explain. I mean, maybe there could have maybe there could have been ways to do that, but it wouldn't have been as powerful, I think, as this.
I love when Acumens is all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's an update. Like
Right.
it's an update. Okay, and it's like it's okay now. I get it. It's an update. And like honestly for me, I was like, yeah, it's an update. And
Like,
I
why
just
can't most people get it? It's just that easy, right?
yeah.
So it is like, in some ways, it's like, oh, I wish everybody would get it that easily. But in other ways, it erases a lot of the past. And I think
Hmm.
as a transgender person, I do struggle sometimes with what is seen as erasure, especially once you're a trans person who passes and lives, and that's great. And that's what you want. That's what I want anyway, as a transgender person. I want to be read the way I am. But there is like a concept of erasure that comes with it,
Yeah.
especially as a parent, I would say, because Joel is a parent, and I put a lot of that struggle into there. And the mother role and the father role are very different. And when somebody sees you as not a mother anymore, they see you differently. And that can be like mothers like feel I feel like closer to the children in that way because I was the one who like gave birth to them and I was raising them at home. And I think that was a struggle for me to be seen as not the mother figure anymore. And
Mm.
I've grown to be okay with that. But at first it feels like erasure because you're like there's more struggles. Mothers, I think, have more struggles that you don't see
Mm.
anymore. So I guess that's what I'm saying about the concept of erasure is
Mhm.
yeah. That's what
And I
Joel to make Acubens understand. Don't erase that whole part of my past by calling
right
it
by calling it what?
just an update.
Yeah. Well, to me, when he said update, I thought of it as like you keep the bones. Like when an update happens, it's almost like another level. Like it's another layer to who I already am. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that made sense to me. It was
It's
like
an,
it's
yeah,
who I've always been, and at the same time, it's more of who I am.
it's an addition instead of a replacement.
Yeah.
But I think that in that scene, Accubans is treating it like a replacement.
Okay.
But Nyctalope was able to hurt Joel because she did not see him as a human anymore. And Accubans is over here like, well, yeah, because you're a cyborg now, you're not a human anymore. You flip the switch, now you're a cyborg. And he's trying to say, well, maybe I'm a cyborg, but I'm also still a human. And it
Yeah.
kind of was, and that's why Accubans was like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be hurting you anymore.
Right.
It was kind of tied together. It was all part of that same conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the whole thing I'm going for. There's just layers to humans. You're not one
Yeah.
thing. You can say that about, I'm all going off now, but you could say it about anything. You could say like, well, I used to be a painter, but now I'm a writer. But can't you be both?
Right.
You know,
No, I love that.
it's all about like labeling yourself, and then maybe the concept of you don't need to label everything. You can just things can be what you are. You can be an action. You can, and I think it's kind of all about that.
Be a verb instead of a noun.
Which I really strive for because I think nouns can limit us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of relationships, congratulations on your
Thank
recent
you.
marriage. Yeah. Yeah, congrats. And enjoy the rest of your honeymoon.
I will. I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so good to meet you. Thank you for coming on today.
This is really fun. I was great. I'm glad to hear from you. And
Yeah,
yeah,
we should
a
we
lot
should
of fun.
talk more for sure.